The United States has just bombed Iranian missile sites to secure safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. Central Command announced that American forces struck fortified Iranian missile bases along the coast near the Strait of Hormuz not long ago, using multiple 5,000-pound bunker-buster bombs. These sites housed anti-ship cruise missiles that were threatening international commercial vessels passing through the strait. Iran also confirmed that their Bushehr nuclear plant was hit. The Atomic Energy Organization of Iran stated yesterday, the 17th, that a flying object crashed into the Bushehr nuclear power plant area, but fortunately caused no financial, technical, or human losses, and did not damage any part of the facility. The cause of the incident remains unclear, and no other independent sources have mentioned it. According to Iran International, Russia, which supplies fuel to the plant, has withdrawn some experts along with their families from Bushehr due to the escalating conflict in Iran. On the same day, President Donald Trump said that the United States was stunning Iran. Speaking at the White House, Trump said, "We are hitting them hard. They are not allowed to have nuclear weapons, and now they understand that clearly. We have a great nation with the strongest military on the planet. I rebuilt it during my first term, never expecting to use it so much in the second term. I have the utmost respect and admiration for our soldiers." According to the Washington Post, citing a cable sent on Tuesday, the U.S. State Department ordered all embassies and consulates worldwide to conduct immediate security checks. The reason is the escalating tension in the Middle East, with the risk of it spreading further. The cable emphasized that all diplomatic missions must convene the Emergency Action Committee, EAC, an interagency team responsible for identifying threats, planning responses, and reviewing their security posture. Reports indicate that this cable was signed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, based on recommendations from Deputy Secretary for Management Jason S. Evans. About 300 Basij agents of the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps were killed in night raids. Information from Iran International shows that approximately 300 commanders and senior officials of this force were killed in a series of attacks on Monday night, directly targeting Iran's critical command and operational centers. The strikes focused on both the Basij logistics system and command structures, a force long used to suppress dissent and quell anti-government protests. In a significant blow, the maintenance center of a support unit was hit. The site contained hundreds of cars and motorcycles used for street and residential patrols. Preliminary reports state that all vehicles were completely destroyed. Facilities linked to the Mohammad Rasulullah Corps, the IRGC unit responsible for the Greater Tehran area, were also attacked. The Imam Hadi Security Unit, a strategic command center in Tehran, suffered severe damage. The Imam Ali Security Battalion's central in suppressing protests incurred heavy casualties and equipment losses. Earlier, an official revealed that confidential information from local civilians helped carry out the assassination of Ali Larijani, Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council. The official said the success of Larijani's assassination relied on valuable intelligence obtained by Israeli intelligence from Tehran residents over the past 24 hours. Recently, Larijani had been acting arrogantly, appearing publicly even at protests and media interactions, which exposed his location and ultimately led to his discovery. The Israeli official also stated that their intelligence continues to receive accurate reports on the locations of Basij and IRGC checkpoints, greatly assisting operations. We just discussed the tension in the Strait of Hormuz and the U.S. heavy strikes. The story continues with multiple statements from President Trump. Iran's leadership has been completely eliminated, allowing the U.S. military to potentially withdraw soon. Trump declared as much. According to the Chinese edition of the Epoch Times on the 18th, President Donald Trump stated at the White House that Iran's leadership no longer exists. This was the first indication that the U.S. might end the war and withdraw troops in the near future. During a press briefing on Tuesday, Trump praised Israel's campaign to eliminate Iran's top leaders. Although he did not specifically name Larijani, he clearly confirmed that the person taken out was the real mastermind of Iran, along with another official responsible for the deaths of 32,000 recent protesters, specifically Gholam Reza Soleimani, commander of the Basij militia, a paramilitary organization under the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Trump told reporters, Their leaders are dead. They were a wicked bunch. Regarding the direction of the war, which the whole world is watching closely, he revealed in the Oval Office that the U.S. military has not yet withdrawn, but will do so in the near future. He also emphasized that the damage caused by the U.S.-Israel alliance is so significant that Iran's military would need 10 years to rebuild. During lunch yesterday in the Oval Office, Trump said he decided to temporarily put economic improvements on hold, adding that a few more weeks would complete the task. It is unclear whether he meant the ongoing trip or additional weeks required. He joked that the biggest problem after eliminating so many Iranian leaders is now not knowing whom to deal with. Regarding Joe Kent, director of the National Counterterrorism Center, resigning in protest of the war with Iran, Trump said it was a good thing. Kent claimed Iran was not a threat, while Iran clearly is. Every country recognizes this. The issue is whether they dare to act. When answering media questions during a meeting with Irish Prime Minister Michel Martin at the White House, Trump said, "I read Mr. Kent's statement. I always thought he was a good man, but when it comes to security, he is very weak, really weak." Trump added, "If I had not canceled the terrible nuclear deal Obama signed with Iran, a nuclear war would have started 4 years ago. You would have faced a nuclear disaster. And if we do not bomb Iran's nuclear facilities, a nuclear disaster would happen again." He stated that there is no room for skeptics in his administration. Anyone working with us who claims Iran is not a threat is not needed. They are not intelligent enough, or more precisely, not wise enough. The U.S. president emphasized that Iran is a major threat, and most NATO countries agree. Earlier, Kent announced his resignation on Tuesday morning on X, citing disagreements with President Trump over armed conflict with Iran. The UAE may join the U.S. in escorting ships through the Strait of Hormuz. As Iran continues to block this crucial waterway, Anwar Gargash, foreign policy advisor to the UAE president, stated on Tuesday, the 17th, that the UAE could participate in a U.S.-led operation to protect maritime traffic through the strait. According to Reuters, Gargash said at an online event organized by the U.S. Council on Foreign Relations that negotiations are ongoing with no official agreement yet. He emphasized that major powers in Asia, the Middle East, and Europe all have a responsibility to maintain trade and energy flow through this route. He noted that it benefits everyone, and everyone must contribute. The Strait of Hormuz is extremely important to the UAE economy because it is a major oil exporter and trade hub. Iran has repeatedly attacked UAE vessels off the Persian Gulf Coast, where oil exports are loaded. Gargash said that while initially expecting Iran to conduct limited attacks in the Middle East after U.S.-Iran nuclear talks failed, the reality is much larger in scale. He said Iran is carrying out comprehensive attacks. The UAE is the most affected Gulf country. The UAE Ministry of Defense announced on Tuesday that their air defense system intercepted 10 ballistic missiles and 45 drones from Iran that day. Since Iran's public provocations, the UAE air defense has intercepted 314 ballistic missiles, 15 cruise missiles, and 1,672 UAVs. The statement noted that Iranian attacks killed 2 UAE soldiers on duty, along with 6 citizens from Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Palestine. Additionally, 157 people were injured, ranging from minor to severe. Since the war began, UAE-Iran relations have deteriorated sharply. UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed rarely called Iran an enemy, warning that Iran should not consider the UAE an easy target. Gargash said on Tuesday that the UAE no longer engages in active dialogue with Iran. He emphasized that after the war, an agreement is needed to ensure Iran does not use its nuclear program, missiles, or UAVs to threaten the region. He said the solution must prevent living in an environment threatened by Iran's nuclear, missile, and drone capabilities. Gargash also predicted that Iran's continuous attacks on Gulf countries would strengthen Israel's relations with existing Arab states and pave the way for Israel to establish relations with additional Arab countries. We are monitoring hot developments in the Middle East, from U.S. strikes on Iran to responses from Gulf countries. Now, let's look at Iran's allies. The Houthis in Yemen remain silent, seemingly abandoning Iran's ally amid the escalating crisis. While the US and Israel continuously strike Iran, the Houthi forces, a key Iranian ally, have not directly entered the conflict, although they repeatedly claim readiness to intervene at any time. Experts believe the Houthis are calculating carefully. They fear that engaging in the conflict could trigger severe retaliation from the US and Israel, potentially destroying what they have rebuilt after previous airstrikes. It could also collapse the fragile ceasefire with Saudi Arabia. Moreover, Yemen's humanitarian crisis is severe, with widespread famine risk. Entering another war could alienate the population. Nevertheless, the Houthis remain a key part of the Iran-backed resistance axis, along with Hezbollah and Hamas. The group can threaten strategic maritime routes at the Bab al-Mandab Strait or attack Saudi oil facilities. Previously, the Houthis were targeted by US, Israeli, and British airstrikes in campaigns to protect Red Sea shipping lanes in response to their missile attacks. Despite reduced strength, they retain offensive capability due to their drone arsenal. Analysts believe the Houthis may continue to remain inactive, observing the situation and acting only when strategic or propaganda advantages arise, potentially through indirect forces such as Somali pirates. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia closely monitors and increases support for the Yemeni government. The United Nations warns that over half of Yemen's population faces severe food insecurity. Any new conflict could worsen the humanitarian crisis. Ukraine has deployed over 200 air defense experts to the Middle East to support allies. The Ukrainian president stated on Tuesday that the country has sent more than 200 air defense experts to the Middle East, as Iran uses drones to attack neighboring Arab countries. Speaking before the British Parliament in London, Zelensky added that Kyiv has the capacity to produce approximately 2,000 interceptor drones daily and could allocate half to support allied defense systems. Meanwhile, the Wall Street Journal, citing familiar sources, reported that Russia is expanding intelligence sharing and military cooperation with Iran. They provide satellite imagery and advanced drone technology, assisting Tehran in targeting U.S. forces in the region. The Jerusalem Post recently cited local media reporting that Katyusha rockets were fired at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad on Tuesday evening. The embassy's air defense system was activated, and alarms sounded throughout the Green Zone. It may sound simple, but the situation is much more complex in reality. Another detail has emerged. Analysts suggest that Kim Yo-jong, sister of leader Kim Jong-un, being appointed head of the Workers' Party General Affairs Department, may not be a promotion as the media outside assumes. Experts note that the General Affairs Department mainly handles document storage and management, almost an honorary position with little real power. Meanwhile, her previous position in the Propaganda and Agitation Department was one of the most powerful agencies, controlling national thought and propaganda systems. Therefore, moving to the new position is considered a demotion in terms of real authority. Another noteworthy detail reinforces this assessment. During a sniper rifle presentation for senior officials and military commanders on the 28th, Kim Yo-jong was explicitly named with her title by state media for the first time in years. This is rare, as Pyongyang usually avoids publicly specifying the titles of key figures to limit external interference in internal power. Explicitly naming her is seen as a political signal that Kim Jong-un wants to frame his sister's role for the public and international observers. Media images also show Kim Ju-ae, Kim's daughter, frequently appearing next to her father at events previously associated with Kim Yo-jong. Conversely, Kim Yo-jong now only appears in group photos, sparking speculation about internal power competition. Some experts believe this transfer aims to limit Kim Yo-jong's influence to prevent future disputes. However, she still speaks on security issues, indicating she has not been completely removed from the center of power. Currently, Kim Yo-jong is still considered a potential successor if a contingency occurs, as Kim's daughter is too young to assume power. Further observation is needed, such as whether she continues to appear publicly or issue official statements, to assess her real level of authority in the coming period. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just heard about North Korea with relatively secretive internal changes. Now we move to another issue that the United States is very concerned about: China's activities in the Western Hemisphere. The U.S. is tightening surveillance of Chinese ports and space facilities in the region. U.S. military leaders warned Congress on Tuesday that China's activities and influence are increasingly becoming a major threat to U.S. national security. At a House Armed Services Committee hearing, Marine General Francis Donovan, commander of U.S. Southern Command, stated that the U.S. is particularly concerned about China expanding its presence in South America through port and space projects. He emphasized that these sites could be used for both civilian and military purposes. He revealed that the U.S. military is monitoring 23 ports and numerous space facilities linked to China in the region. Beijing's investments in strategic infrastructure such as ports, telecommunications, and critical minerals could serve as platforms for intelligence operations, cyber attacks, or logistical disruption during a global conflict. Space facilities could also be used to monitor satellites and collect sensitive military information. House Armed Services Committee Chairman Mike Rogers stated that this is part of China's strategy to expand influence and threaten U.S. security. He also mentioned the U.S. Southern Spear counter-narcotics campaign, which is weakening criminal networks before they cross borders. Regarding Central America, General Donovan praised Panama for reducing dependence on China and increasing cooperation with the U.S., including ending the role of Chinese companies in strategic ports at both ends of the Panama Canal. Meanwhile, Northern Command Commander, Air Force General Gregory Guillot, warned that China's military capabilities are developing rapidly, with its nuclear arsenal exceeding 600 warheads. They also possess new weapons, including hypersonic missiles, orbital bombers, and intercontinental ballistic missiles capable of striking U.S. territory, including Alaska. He also noted that China is enhancing cyber attacks and developing conventional weapons threatening the U.S. while expanding its presence in the Arctic. In addition to China, Russia and North Korea are also significant threats. North Korea's Hwasong-20 missile can carry a nuclear warhead anywhere in U.S. territory. Furthermore, although Iran has been weakened by U.S. attacks, it still retains the capability for asymmetric retaliation, such as cyber attacks or via proxy forces. U.S. generals also warned that increasing China-Russia cooperation could lay the foundation for a future alliance, complicating U.S. military planning. General Gregory Guillot said the Golden Dome missile defense system proposed by President Donald Trump with space-based interceptors is feasible and progressing well. Northern Command is also strengthening countermeasures against drone threats, deploying the FlyKit FAK system to detect, track, and neutralize UAVs, with plans to acquire more in the future. This system has proven effective in past operations, including successfully intercepting drones at a strategic U.S. facility. At first glance, many of these developments may sound ordinary, but in reality, they show that tension is increasing day by day. Thank you for taking the time to follow these updates. We hope today's information is useful. See you in the next reports.